Hello there everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, which will take us from Thirsk to Haydock to Kempton and to Salisbury. The feature event of the week was the Betfair Sprint Cup at Haydock Park. It produced a very interesting renewal, and more of that anon in the programme. But we're going to start at Thirsk with an interesting 2-year-old performance in the 7 furlong novice stakes. It was Division 1 of this particular race, and Tuscan went off the 2-1 favourite, a horse with experience who'd won last time out. Mythical Dancer was the winner, and he was 9-4. Shivara was 3-1. So Mythical Dancer beats Tuscan, beats Shivara. Stall 9 is what we need to be having a look at here, and the Godolphin Blue, trained by Charlie Appleby and ridden by James Doyle, a son of Shamadal out of an Exceed and Excel mare. There he is in the Godolphin Blue, fluffing the start. Very green and tardy out of the stalls, which put him a little bit on the back foot for a furlong or so, though James Doyle was keen to try and adopt a handy position and got him rolling to sit in about 4th place at this stage of the race. There he is, just looking for a little bit of cover in behind the leaders. The course track sectionals tell us that this was a very steadily run affair, so it's a good job that James Doyle got as close as he did, although he's still 3 or 4 lengths off the leader, Tuscan, who is his main market rival. The finishing speed percentage, courtesy of course track, 110.72. That tells us a lot about how this race was run. It was very steady, and then they quickened through the final 3 furlongs. It was just a test of speed. Now overall, if you're a fan of time figures, this race will not be for you. It doesn't produce a good time figure at all. But what it does produce is a winner who's got an electric turn of foot, and remember, he is doing this on debut. He's picking up now. In the 7th furlong, 10.94 was really impressive. Look at him picking up there and firing through the final 3 furlongs, 33.55. Now put that in context, he's doing that to catch a rival who'd already won a race, had the benefit of experience. Mythical Dancer had never run before, but yet he is able to do this in the closing part of the race, and that was what was so impressive about what he did here on a debut. I think he's a lot better than the bare result, and if he was to get himself into a race with a strong gallop, I think we'd see an even better performance. But to do this on debut was impressive. How can we sum this up then? Let's have a look at the main points. Firstly, it was a steadily run race, and the winner recorded a course track finishing speed percentage well over 100, 110.72. They crawled and then sprinted. The winner showed a sharp turn of foot through the 7th furlong, 10.94 seconds. That's how he came home here. That's an impressive finishing split on debut when being a little bit green as well. Tuscan, who he beat as a previous winner, he had an experience edge and a positional advantage in the race, but was still not good enough to see off this 2-year-old who flew home. Well, he's nicely bred. He's by Shamadal out of an Exceed and Excel mare. What does that tell us? Well, it really does tell us that he might not stay much further than a mile, really. Shamadals tend to not go much further than that, and Exceed and Excels definitely don't. That's where his speed comes from, and that's a fast ground pedigree as well. I think it's an Ascot pedigree, more importantly. He'd be seen to good effect if he went to Ascot, I think. That sort of horse, Shamadal, Exceed and Excels, they go really well there on the straight course. James Doyle, what a day for him. Few people noted that he would Thirsk on what was a big day of racing with lots of good races at Haydock and at Kempton. But he went to Thirsk and it paid off with a treble. Let's go south now on Saturday to Kempton Park. Their feature event on an excellent card was the Unibet September Stakes. It was a Group 3 contest over 1.5 miles. And Hookham, who's been rejuvenated of late, winning his last 2 starts, the fitting of a tongue tie's really helped. He was 100-30 on. Foxtel was 9-1. Hamish 9-1, coming back of a long layoff. Outbox 10s. And Prince of Arran 22-1. So this is an interesting renewal of the September Stakes, and it's in the end won by Hamish, who comes from stall 1. Keep an eye on him. He wins for William Haggis. The runner-up was Hookham, who jumped from 5, and the third was Foxtel, who jumped from stall number 4. Now, often at Kempton Park, we see steadily run affairs over this sort of trip on the outer loop, 1.5 miles. And even though this was a Group 3, this was no exception whatsoever. This was a bit of a crawl and sprint affair, with the odds-on favourite being turned over by Hamish, who is down on the inside and on his comeback off a long layoff. He had a tendon injury, is a little bit keen in the early stages of the race, just pulling a bit hard, but eventually he settles once they get round this first bend and settles into his work. Hookham is sat second in the Shadwell colours. He's got an ideal position really, given the way that the race panned out, but they are literally just hack cantering at the moment in this contest. We'll look at the figures. Well, the finishing speed percentage was 111.79. Wow, that tells us how steadily they went. So basically they've crawled until they've turned for home, and then it has turned into a bit of a dash. And you'll see when they do turn for home and start sprinting, they all very much finish on top of each other, which is something of a telltale sign that they went a steady gallop. So they finished off very fast, but they're still not winding it up down the back straight. There is a crucial furlong in this race in the home straight where Hamish does flash a real lot of speed. He runs an 11.2 second furlong according to the course track sectionals, and that just allows him to get the better of Hookham. And this must represent a very good training performance from William Haggis to get Hamish back onto the track and to be able to win a Group 3 after quite a bad injury, I understand, and a lengthy layoff. But he couldn't have get a better run race really. You come off a long layoff and fitness maybe is questionable, and race sharpness is questionable. A steadily run affair is possibly what you want. It just allows you to run within your comfort zone throughout. Now they're winding it up as they turn into the home straight. Hamish down on the inside. Hookham's got first jump on him, but he can't shake him off. He tries to go past Outbox now, who's making the running, and he takes a while to get past that horse. Now he'd beaten that horse very comfortably when they'd met earlier this year, when they met in the Hardwick. He beat him very easily, but here he doesn't beat him easily at all, and that's because of the run of the race. Now they're sprinting, and this is where Hamish will fire an 11.2 second furlong, and Hookham can't quite do that. And although he runs all the way to the line and he picks up pretty well, he just can't do enough to see off Hamish. Look at Foxtail to the outside, customarily carrying his head high. That's what he does, not really going through with it, but he's run perfectly well. But look how close they all are. What is this, 5 lengths between the first 5 home? I mean, it was just steadily run and it turned into a sprint. And one point needs to be made. It has emerged that Hookham made a noise in the race at some point. It was reported that he did make a noise. He wears a tongue tie. That's changed his fortunes round in his last 2 starts. But maybe making a noise here made the difference. So let's sum this race up, this September Stakes, the feature event at Kempton Park on Saturday afternoon. Well, it was a very steadily run for a 12 furlong contest. The finishing speed percentage tells us that. It's 111.79. They finished all on top of each other, and it was a bit of a mess in truth. Well, as I said, they finished on top of each other. Similar finishing splits for all of them. But the crucial furlong that I highlighted was the penultimate, where Hamish managed to fire an 11.2 quicker than his rivals, who were close to him, just a shade quicker than them all, took him to the front, and he was able to hold on. Strictly on form, Hookham is a little bit below his best, given how well he beat Outbox earlier in the year. But we now know that Hookham made a noise and might have had a respiratory issue. I think it's wrong to assume slow run races mitted against Hookham. Perhaps he could have done with a slightly better gallop, but he is effective in such races. His last 2 wins have both been in races that were quite steadily run as well, and he was quite impressive in those. Brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant from William Haggis. Superb training performance to get a win out of this fella after a lengthy absence and an injury, but beware of the bounce with this horse. I'm sure William won't be turning him out too quickly after that success. He is entered up once. He's got 1 entry. It's the Kipco Long Distance Cup, and that could be a real good spot for Hamish, for he handles cut in the ground. He's proved that in the past, and he's sure you would have thought to get cut at Ascot in October. Let's go to Haydock Park then on a Saturday afternoon. They staged a stellar card. It got underway with the listed Ascendant Stakes over a mile, and Huffett was the 8 to 11 favourite here. Ahead of Triple Time, overpriced at 3 to 1 really, and he was backed in from 4s. Power of Beauty, a big drifter, out to 100 to 30 for the Hugo Palmer team, and Jukebox, the big outsider, at 40 to 1. And it was a very good performance, this. It was Triple Time who obliged. He jumped out of stall 3 and he makes every yard of the running. He beats the favourite Half-It comprehensively, who came out of 2. And back in 3rd was Jukebox at a big price, who ran well in 3rd place. Power of Beauty ran no sort of race at all for the Hugo Palmer team. This is the first leg of a treble for Andrea Tseni. Look at him there, he's just missed the break, Triple Time, in the yellow colours. Tseni's clever here. He realises very early on that there's no pace on, that Half-It might get a chance to get his own way in front, and Tseni says, no way, I'm going to circle them and I am going to lead on this really nice horse, Triple Time. And thereafter it became a very well judged ride from Andrea Tseni. This horse quickened up well from the 4 furlong pole, and he fired some good splits in the home straight. It was steady enough according to the course track sectionals early on. But this horse is bred to be good. He was impressive when he won here at Haydock last time up, and he's impressive here as well. Another excellent son of Frankel. Seen so many good Frankels this season, and this fella is another one, trained by Kevin Ryan, and I think he's got a really good horse on his hands. The final time was just okay. It was 1:41.3. Nothing particularly flash about that, but they did go steady early on, as you saw from the gates. And Tseni didn't wind it up until about the 3 pole. He picked up from the 4 to the 3, but it was the 3 to the 2 where this horse really quickened up. And Half-It could never get past him. He could never really threaten him on the outside there in the Godolphin Blue. Look at this horse. All the time he's lengthening and picking up really well. From the 4 furlong pole, he fired splits of 11.57, 10.59, 11.3. So those 3 furlongs were enough to see off the Half-It. Jukebox running on in the closing stages, but he's never threatened the leaders. Power of Beauty, very disappointing in behind. He dropped right away, and he never really threatened to win. What was a disappointing day really for Hugo Palmer. He had a number of fancied runners all over the place, and it didn't have the best of days, but he'd been in great form prior to that. This is a very good horse, make no mistake. I think he's really good. How can we sum this performance up? Well, it was a bit of a crawl early on in the early stages, but it was a well-judged ride from Andrea Tseni. He was really, really good on this horse, and as we will see as we work our way through the rest of the verdict, he was very good on more horses at Haydock on Saturday. He rode a spectacular treble, and this was the start of it. It was a great ride from the front. This horse quickened up well from 4 furlongs out, with splits between the 4 and the 2 of 11.57 and 10.59, and Half-It just could not live with this fella. And I think there was more in the tank as well. I think he won with plenty in hand. Winner's the very useful son of Frankel. He's a half-brother to the useful Cape Byron, so he's got a really good pedigree, and better things definitely await down the line for him. The sectionals, courtesy of Course Track, of course, show this run to have been an evenly run affair, really. Tseni was getting it right from the front. He was always prominent, and I think being prominent on the track, on the whole on the day at Haydock, did confer something of an advantage on the runners there, but nonetheless, this was a good ride. 2 Group 2 entries going forward, Beresford, Nyland and the Royal Lodge as well. That's how highly thought of he is, and I don't think that is Connections being overconfident. I think he's a group horse. And finally, what a day for Kevin Ryan and his team. Statistically, he is an incredibly consistent trainer. Every season for the last 6 years, he strikes at around about 12%, regularly firing between 60 and 90 winners. He never has a bad season, and he's having a great one this time around. The 1:45 at Haydock Park was the superior mile. It was a Group 3 on Saturday afternoon, and Lord Glitters has been a grand campaigner over the years for the David Emaraaty team, 7-5 favourite. My Oberon 4-1. Maid Danny was 4-1 for Mark Johnson. Bellrock 6-1, and Artistic Rifles was 15-2, and it was the outsider of the lot who obliged in this Group 3 contest under another excellent front-running ride from Andrea Tseni. What a day he had. Stall 2. Artistic Rifles came from. Bellrock was second from 3, and third home was My Oberon from 1. Lord Glitter's the favourite, most disappointing, and I think that'll be because of the ground. He was climbing a bit in the closing stages. We'll pick that out in a moment or two. Now, in the previous race, of course, Tseni missed the break on Triple Time. Here, Artistic Rifles was quickly away and quite keen in his hands. And because of that, this was a stronger run race. than the previous contest that Triple Time won. It was a bit more of an even gallop. Nonetheless, they didn't go mad in front. The finishing speed percentage in this particular race was 105.83%. They finished off 5.83% quicker than they ran the rest of the race. That's through the final 3 furlongs, of course. So despite Artistic Rifles being a little bit keen, Atseni's managed to get hold of him. You can see there he's got a tight hold of the rein turning in. This horse got quite sweaty, got quite warm down at the start. He's a free-going individual. He likes to get on with it. But in terms of form, this is a massive improvement from Artistic Rifles. It's a huge step up from him. He ran in a Class 2 handicap last time, and he won that off 96. Well, up into a Group 3 here and dominating some good horses. He's still in front at the 3 pole, and he's got a jump on his rivals. He's got 3 or 4 lengths. Now, Bell Rock with the sheepskin noseband, he's running on now, and he fired the fastest final 3 furlongs. 34.21 for Bell Rock, but he was at a positional disadvantage. Atseni had nipped 3 or 4 lengths, and even if Bell Rock was quicker in the final 3 furlongs, it was not quick enough to run down Artistic Rifles. He kept going well under Atseni. It was a day, a forefront running at Haydock on this quick ground that they encountered, unusual for this time of year. Horses were not coming back, and Artistic Rifles just kept rolling out in front. But crucially, Atseni was able to nick 3 or 4 lengths just after they turned in. And that meant that Bell Rock couldn't run him down. My Oberon couldn't really get anywhere near. And Lord Glitters and Maidani were both very disappointing, I think. Lord Glitters, the grey horse, you can see him climbing, head coming up in the air. He wants a little bit of cut in the ground. And Maidani, he hasn't run well since he won at Goodwood. 2 poor efforts from him thus far. So what do we make of this overall? Well, Atseni's at it again from the front. It was more evenly run than the Triple Time race, producing a time that was 1 minute 39.85 compared to Triple Time of 141.3. Of course, Triple Time is a 2-year-old, so it's not necessarily that comparable, but nonetheless, this was just a stronger run race. He won a handicap off 96 last time. What a big jump up this was. I have to be a little bit careful about it. I think he was aided by a good ride on fast ground on a day when horses were not really finishing off from the back, but nonetheless, this horse has taken a big step forward. Bell Rock, fastest final 3 furlongs of 34.21. There's a positional disadvantage. You can be the fastest horse with the final 3 furlongs, but if you're in the wrong place, when you start to fire those and horses in front of you have got to jump on you, it's hard to run them down. Ground was too fast for Lord Glitters, no doubt about that. I don't think he enjoyed it whatsoever. Maybe back to Ascot for the QE2 and on Kipco British Champions Day, that might suit him. He's run well there before in that race, so with a bit of cut in the ground, that'll be okay for him. Maidani underperformed, 2 modest runs from him since he won the big handicap at Goodwood, the big mile race. Justly a little bit cautious of this result. I think that's fair enough to say. But what we have to note, and this is important, it's a landmark winner for the upwardly mobile trainer Ed Bethell. He's had a tremendous season. He's one of many young up-and-coming trainers who seem to be able to get their horses going forward, seems to be able to get them to improve, and in this horse's case, improve quite rapidly. Let's get into the big race of the day on Saturday, the Betfair Sprint Cup, Group 1, part of the British Champion Series, of course. 6 furlongs the trip, and unusually for Haydock at this time of year, on really fast ground, officially good to firm. Starman, the even money favourite, very popular in the market all week. Creative Force for Godolphin, 6-1. Art Power was very fast. He took support. He was 17-2 from 10s. That's probably because of the ground and what happened in previous races with front runners not coming back. Emaraaty Ana, 11-1, and it was 18-1 and bigger the rest. And this race produced a tremendous finish, a really good finish between Emaraaty Ana and Starman. Emaraaty Ana jumped out of stall 6 and she ran really well in the Nunthorpe. You'll remember when she was second there, and this was likewise a very good effort. Starman from 10, Chill from 11, and Happy Romance from stall number 9 was back in 4th and came home quite strongly and ran really well. Stalls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 not really getting involved. Some good horses in there like Glen Shiel and Art Power. Off we go then. It's Art Power who'll take them along at a really quick gallop. He's 2 from the right, straight to the front, and he flies along out in front. And they, to a degree, they ignore him just a little bit. The principals are here. There's Emaraaty Ana in the yellow, and there's Starman just tracking Emaraaty Ana in behind. about a length between them when we get to the side on angle. You'll see they're about length, 3/4 of a length between them, with Art Power rattling along in front. Now this race, as you might imagine, on fast ground, threatened, you would have thought, the course record, and they weren't too far off it. They ran a very fast final time of 1 minute 9.1, very quick indeed. The first and second coming just from mid-division. You can see them there on the side on angle. Yeah, there's about 3/4 of a length between them at this stage. This was a strongly run sprint, even if you ignore Out Power out in front, who went far too fast. Here's Emaraaty Ana cruising into it. Now Starman, people are going to say he's hit a bit of a flat spot. Look, there he is being niggled along, whereas Emaraaty Ana's still just on the bridle. And she goes here at this stage and she just gets first run on Starman. Now I don't really think he hits a flat spot. I think he's just a big horse who takes a while to get organised. And that really particularly occurs on a fast track like this, on fast ground. He just took a while to get going, to get organised, and once he did, he flew home, and in another couple of strides he'd have won. It just took him a while. I think he had every chance, really. That penultimate furlong that he ran, look at this, 10.95. Now that's what people are saying he hit a flat spot, but he was still running 10.95. But in that penultimate furlong, Emaraaty Ana ran 10.78. And I think that was just the difference. That penultimate furlong where Starman was trying to get organised, but Emaraaty Ana was organised and went. And Starman just got going a little bit too late. Ironically, he had conditions to suit. Fast ground, 6 furlongs. But it could just have been a bit too sharp a test for him. This is a fast straight track, and on fast ground it might just have caught him out a little bit. Maybe he'd be better on a stiff 6 Ascot next summer on fast ground. I think that would be his bag. He's still run an absolute blinder, maybe a little bit below his July Cup form. So we had an evenly run sprint, ignoring Art Power, who went too hard in front. It was still a very fast final time of 1 minute 9.1, and the first 3 came from mid-division really, and Starman just failed to get there. Winner's definitely improved of late. I think there's no doubt about that, and that might coincide with being ridden with a little bit more restraint rather than blitzing away and being asked to do a lot of running early like Art Power was. Just hanging on to this horse early on seems to have helped. So does the slick surface. I think he's much better on a decent surface. Oh, how did he get beaten in the Camage Stakes at Doncaster earlier in the year? Who knows? Starman, look, I think he had every chance on ground that suits him. He just took a while to pick up. In the penultimate furlong, he just took a while to get organised. He's a big horse, and on this rattling fast ground, it just took him a while to sort himself out. 10.95 penultimate furlong compared to the winner 10.78. I think that was the difference. That's when Starman was trying to get organised. But I don't think if a horse is running that fast, you can say hit a flat spot. Speed test on fast ground perhaps caught Starman out a little bit. Stiffer 6 may suit better. Ascot in October. It would be a good fit. The ground, though, is the problem there. It might be a bit soft for him, but if he did get a very mild autumn in Ascot on Kipco Champions Day was good ground, then he might be the horse for that. I think next summer he would be at Royal Ascot on decent ground. Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint is on the agenda for the winner. That's a very interesting sit at Del Mar for Emaraaty Ana. A fantastic day for the Double A, Andre Etienne, and indeed for Kevin Ryan as well. Congratulations to him. One of the big days of the year at Salisbury took place on Thursday afternoon. I'm picked out a very good novice performance from Outbreak, who won the 130. It was over a mile. He was sent off the even money favourite on the back of a very good debut effort at Chelmsford when he finished second. Port Linus was a 5-2 shot, second favourite under Ryan Moore. Outbreak, he's jumped from stall number 8. Oisin Murphy was the man on board. Port Linus came from 5. He was second. And Wind Your Neck In was back in 3rd place. Let's have a look and see how this race unfolded. And it was a good front running ride from Oisin Murphy. It's not the first time we've said that here on the verdict. In my opinion, he is particularly good from the front. He's a good jockey overall, obviously. But I think he's very good at judging pace from the front. And he's on a very good 2-year-old here, I think. There is a chance that this horse will be considerably underrated. He's got an even gallop out in front at Senni, finishing speed percentage 103.6, just about what you'd expect here at Salisbury, going slightly uphill. These are 2-year-olds, remember, so he's gone evenly out in front. Port Linus is the horse directly behind him with the yellow cap, pulling quite hard for his head. Now, he is relatively exposed, but he's got some good form to his name if you look through some of his performances. Indeed, he finished behind Triple Time, who we looked at earlier in the programme, who looks to be a very useful prospect. So Port Linus has got some good form, but he can't get anywhere near Outbreak in this race. Final 6th furlong of 11.86 from Outbreak was very good, and that's what put the rest of the field away. Murphy dictating against the rail. It was the place to be at Salisbury on Thursday. It often is, but it wouldn't have mattered where this fella had been. He would have won whatever. And look, he's still green. He's lugging into the rail. Ocean's got his whip in his right hand, just trying to straighten him out, but he's still firing a quick furlong. That 11.86, it took him to the furlong pole, and now he can cruise home from there. Wind your neck in, running on. That's quite a good performance in third. Port Linus can do no more, having pulled hard. But I think this fella is very good, and I just think he'll go under the radar a little bit, and he's definitely one to keep a close eye on. I'm not sure where Mark Johnson's going to go with him. He doesn't have any highfalutin entries at the moment, but he's an above average juvenile. He's won 5 lengths. It's only his second start, and he was still a little bit green as well. Even gallop set by the winner. That's courtesy of Oisin Murphy from the front. Finishing speed percentage 103.6%. And well, we've seen plenty of front running performances and wins here on the Verdict this week. I think it's partly courtesy of the ground, the unseasonably quick ground, and horses are just not coming back. So it was good from Murphy from the front. We've seen him do that before at Sandown and other places on horses that we've highlighted in the Verdict before. Port Linus is exposed, but as I was saying, he's got pretty good form, but he had no chance here against a very nice individual. He's in the 2-year-old trophy at Redcar. That will have been an entry that will have been made quite a while ago, but they might be thinking of slightly better things for him now. And look at him there as he walks back in. Big horse, isn't he? He's got loads of size and scope. And finally, he may just be better than the bare result indicates. The figures and the times suggest that he's pretty good. He might be big, he might be a big, long, striding individual, but he can quicken. The course track sectional showed us that. Stick him in your Racing TV tracker. One of the big races that's part of the Breeders' Cup Challenger series was the Jockey Club Gold Cup, which has moved from Belmont to Saratoga this year. It was a grade 1 over 1.25 miles, and Forza d'Oro was the even money favourite. Let's see what happened now. In the end, it was the Drifter who obliged. It was Max Player who was always prominent here. In an evenly run race, they didn't go too mad, and he beats Happy Saver and Forza d'Oro back in 3rd place. Why am I showing you this? Well, of course, the Breeders' Cup will be live here on Racing TV from Del Mar this season, and we're looking at Challenger races here on the Verdict. We've seen a couple already. Nix Go winning a Challenger race, and he's in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Latrushka winning the Personal Ensign. She's going to the Distaff. We looked at her last week. And here, Max Player, he'll take on Nix Go. For now, winning this, he qualifies for the Breeders' Cup Classic. He did it well. The time was just okay, 2 minutes 2.49. He was always prominent, and he ground out a success, having been handy. He's trained by Steve Asmussen. Ricardo Santana was on board. Back in second was the Todd Pletcher trained Happy Saver, who's a pretty good horse in his own right, and he sets quite a big standard. So Max Player will now head to the Breeders' Cup Classic and take on Nix Go and possibly Mishrif. That would be a fantastic clash if we got that. That's it for the Verdict this week. Thank you very much indeed for your company. We went from Thirsk to Haydock. We went down to Salisbury. We went to Kempton Park as well. I hope you enjoyed looking back at all of those races on a weekend that's definitely belonged to Andrea Tseni and Kevin Ryan. Goodbye from me.